Hello everyone. Today's joke of the day is, what do you call a slow skier? Stay tuned to find out. Our learning target for today is I can find the slope of a line from a graph. Slope is how fast a line is changing and is sometimes referred to as the rate of change. Okay, so if we have a slope of a line, we're talking about how fast the line is changing, or the rate of change of the line. Okay, we can calculate or find the slope of a line by finding the change in the y and dividing by the change in the x. Okay, so slope is usually referred to by the variable m. Okay, we use the word variable m, and that's going to mean slope. Okay, think like y equals mx plus b, right? M would be our slope in that case. And the general formula for finding slope, you should think about it in both of these ways, is first of all that m is equal to the change in y divided by the change in x, or m is equal to rise over run. Okay, so how much the graph is rising versus how much it is running. Okay, so rise would be vertical, and then the run would be horizontal. Again, just like the change in y over the change in x. Okay, and slope is always going to be either written as an integer or a reduced fraction. Okay, this can be an improper fraction, okay, but we are never going to write slope as a mixed number or as a decimal. Okay, you will rarely ever see that, and especially not a mixed number, because that would change it, okay, or a non-terminating decimal. Okay, so just to be safe, we're always just going to write it as an integer or as a reduced fraction. Could be an improper fraction. Okay, there are a few different types of slope. Okay, so we have a positive slope, which is going to be a line that slopes from up from left to right. Okay, so as I go from left to right, I go up in direction. That's going to be a positive slope. Okay, negative slope would be a line that slopes down from left to right. Okay, I call that a negative slope. A horizontal line is going to have a slope of 0. Okay, so we can think about that as our rise, our change in y is going to be 0, right? Our graph is not going up or down at all. Okay, so that's going to be 0. So it's going to be 0 divided by any number, okay, whatever the change in x is. 0 divided by any number is just 0. So that's going to give us this slope of 0. And then finally, we would have an undefined slope if we have a vertical line. Okay, so again, think about the x isn't changing at all. So we would have a number divided by 0. And anything divided by 0 we know is undefined. Okay, something that we cannot do. Okay, so those are our 4 different types of slope. Okay, now let's look at some graphs and find the slope of the following lines. Okay, so remember, our slope is going to be, oh, I'm on the highlighter, I want to be on the pen. Okay, our slope is going to be m is equal to the rise over the run, okay, or the change in y over the change in x. Okay, so when I'm looking at a graph trying to figure out the slope, it's helpful for me to always find the points where I know my graph is going to intersect at a whole number. Okay, so ones that go right through the grid lines. So like here is going to be a good one for me to look at, and you always want to find 2 of them so you can count. And then this one looks like a good one. Okay, so I'm going to have those 2 lines, or those 2 points. Okay, and I'm going to count between them. First, I'm going to count the rise. Okay, so I'm going to start at this uppermost one, the leftmost one, and I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, this one, the change is going to be 6, and I'm going down, so it's going to be a negative 6. Okay. And then I'm going to go to the right. Okay, that'll be my run, seeing how far my graph is running. And 1, 2, 3, 4. And to the right is always positive. Okay, so it's going to be a positive 4. So my slope for this graph is going to be negative 6 over 4. Okay. Now I can reduce that fraction. Okay, if I divide by 2 on the top and on the bottom, I get negative 3 over 2 as my final slope here. Okay, and I'm going to leave it like that. I'm not going to change it to negative 1.5. okay, or negative 1.5. I'm just going to leave it as negative 3/2. That is my slope. Okay, let's look at this next one here. We have a horizontal line, so we know automatically that our slope is going to be 0, okay, because we're thinking like our y value, we're not rising at all, so we're going to end up with 0 over our change in x. But we know that 0 divided by anything is always just going to be 0, okay? So our slope for this one is going to be m equals 0. Okay, here's another one. This looks like a good point that I can use, and maybe this one down here. Okay, clearly intersecting at a grid line, okay? So then I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so my change is 5, but it's actually negative 5 because my rise, I'm going down, right? So I'm going negative in the y direction. And then my run's going to be 1, 2, 3. Okay, positive 3. So my slope is going to be negative 5 over 3. Okay, and we can double check that this makes sense that it should be negative, okay, because I'm going in a downward direction from left to right, okay, which means that my slope is going to be negative. So good. That's what this should look like. Okay, for this one here, I'm going to choose this point down here and this point right there. Okay, my rise is going to be 1, 2, 3, well, actually, let me do it this way. My rise is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8 in the positive direction. Then my run is going to be 1, 2, 3. Okay, so my slope will end up being here, 8 divided by 3. And it should be positive because I am going from left to right. I'm going generally in an upward direction. So that's my slope. Okay, here we have a vertical line, which is going to mean that our slope is undefined. Because again, we can't, we're going to have an infinite rise, okay, right? We don't know what the rise is because it just keeps going up, and no run. So it's going to be some number divided by 0, which is going to give us an undefined answer. Okay, let's look at one last example here. I'm going to pick this point and this point. Okay, my rise is going to be 1, and my run is going to be 2. Okay, so my change in y is 1, a positive 1, and then I'm going over 2. Okay, generally going in a, kind of a flat line, or not a very steep line, but we are going generally in an upward direction, so it should be positive. So my slope here is going to be 1/2. All right, so for your joke of the day, what do you call a slow skier? You call them a slope poke. Thanks for watching and have a great day.